first of all, I just want to congratulate Green Left Weekly on their 20th anniversary again, because they do really deserve to be congratulated, and I think Mr. Said actually summarised that pretty strongly. I also want to thank them for supporting us in the rally last Saturday, or was it Sunday? I forget. But yeah, I want to thank them for supporting us in that rally and for, you know, backing us up throughout this whole revolution. And so I think I just want to recap really quickly over the last 18 days. As you're probably aware, on the 25th of January, the Egyptian people protested. They went out onto the streets and they protested in cities all over Egypt, all over the country, demanding their freedom, because for 30 years they had been ruled by a president, a dictator, Hosni Mubarak and his regime, and he had been leading his country in a downhill spiral. For them, 30 years of corruption, high unemployment, poverty, high prices, rigged elections, and injustices was enough. Their freedom could only be granted if Mubarak and his regime stepped down. Around 300 people in the cities all over Egypt had lost their lives in the 2 weeks of the protests due to the violences from the police, who had, of course, been following the orders of the government, who had been trying to, you know, they'd been desperate for the protests to stop, because they knew the power of the people of Egypt, and they knew once they'd stopped, once they'd started, they really couldn't stop them. I think yesterday, on the 11th of February, 18 days after this revolution started, Egypt's vice president announced that Mubarak had left the power and that the entire government and regime were officially down, and the army would be holding the power until elections were held. The people of Egypt rejoiced. The revolution had succeeded. Okay, I'll tell you what it was like from a personal point of view, because I think the story was a little bit funny. I got woken up at 12:30 a.m. by my mum. She was screaming that Mubarak, he'd left, and that the Egyptians had succeeded. The following hour was a mix of tears of joy, jumping up and down, you know, just screaming, like shaking our heads in disbelief. It was also a mix of different Arabic swear words that usually my mum wouldn't really approve of me saying, but, you know, I think this was a time for exceptions. I think it was a time of relief that this blood that had been lost in the last 18 days hadn't gone to waste. That Mubarak had, you know, gotten the message, you know, through his, I just like to say, thick head. And he had gotten the message that the people needed their freedom, and he had to give that to them. He couldn't just keep, you know, the 30 years were just too much, and they couldn't keep going, you know. I think that this revolution is going to be marked down in history, because it's the people's revolution. It wasn't organised by any, there was no proper leader for this revolution. It was mostly, it started as people going down to the streets to protest, because it was inspired by the Tunisian protests that resulted in their president fleeing. And now that the Egyptian people, they were inspired to do that, and they went out, and on one of the days there was 5 million people across Egypt, and in Tahrir Square alone there was 2 million. So that's like getting the whole of WA in one spot and just protesting and calling out, leave, leave, we want the regime down. I mean, how could you have let that go on for 2 weeks and let all that blood go? You know, if I was that president, I would have just, you know, I would have been ashamed and just stepped down. But I think what we need to realise is this revolution, it's something that should have happened a long time ago, but now that it's happened, the world has recognised it, and I think it's a time for celebration, and it's a time for change, and as someone said before, it's the first day of the new Egypt, and definitely this will be, you know, this new Egypt will be something, a change for the better. And so, yeah, I just wanted to say that, and thank you so much for coming, and for the people who joined us in the rally last time, thanks for coming. And also, we were actually thinking of having, sorry if I'm blabbing on for too long, but we were actually thinking of having a protest in the next few days, but because of what happened last night and the things took a change for the better, we're actually going to be celebrating. We're going to have a celebration rally tomorrow night, Sunday night at 6 p.m. It's in the park on Riverside Drive across the bell tower, across from the bell tower. So you're all welcome to join us. We're all just going to be sitting there, you know, having a few snacks, you know, just celebrating, just being happy, because all this hard work hasn't gone to nothing, and the blood hasn't gone to nothing, and, you know, yeah, so I'd like to see you all there. Thank you so much.